So.
Sarah's not here, someone else chairing the meeting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Turn your camera off. We don't want to see that nice weather.
Yeah. Well, he puts a Hawaiian shirt on.
Can you see my thermometer?
No, I don't want to see it.
No,
Okay.
I heard you're getting snow.
Okay, thanks. That's
See it
great,
now?
we see it, yeah.
It's gonna be like almost too hot. It's 80 above right now at 9:30 in the morning. Supposed to go to about 95 today. This is crazy for February.
I have about as much sympathy for you as I did when my parents called me from Australia after winning the 50-50, so you can go cry yourself a little river about that. It's like minus 40 here.
Yeah, I've been watching every day. Sorry you guys did. But
Are we starting without it?
Yes, sir.
I think so.
Said she's coming.
We got some money, Dave.
We're live.
oh no. Oh good. Some more?
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start with the roll call. Sorry.
I love the Santa Claus.
We're live, member Campbell. So Jennifer Katowski, community member. Sarah Diaz. Dave Canfield. Mayor Andrew Poirier.
Yeah. Present.
Councillor Kelsey Van Bellingham, present. Heather Pelak.
Present virtually.
And Chief Inspector Duggan.
Well, let's just go with inspector. No chiefs.
Sorry, detachment commander. Sorry, I keep doing that. I even asked before.
I just told you.
I'm sorry. My apologies. Detachment commander Duggan. Okay, so I'm going to do the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we recognize that we are on Treaty 3 lands which are steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We continue to be thankful for the partnerships with Indigenous people and collectively commit to truth and reconciliation in our community.
Are you going to continue chairing?
I don't want to.
Good experience.
Okay, so I guess approval of the agenda, resolution number 1.
Sorry, Councillor Van Bellingham,
Yeah.
if we could just go to declarations of pecuniary interest.
Oh,
if
pardon.
anybody has any.
So call for declarations of pecuniary interest, if anyone has any. Seeing none, I'll move on to approval of the agenda, resolution number 1.
Thank you. Resolution number 1, moved by myself, seconded by Kelsey Van Bellingham, that the agenda for the regular Kenora Police Service Board meeting for February 23rd, 2023 meeting be hereby approved as presented.
Maybe we'll just pause for 1 second. Did you? No, that's okay. I was just sort of filling in for your seat
No,
for a
please
minute.
keep going, keep going. I'm sorry. Something came up at the office.
Community partner presentations or delegations, I'm seeing none. So we'll move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. So resolution 2, which I have. This is for the regular Kenora Police Services Board, November 30th, 2022. So resolution number 2, moved by myself, seconded by Mayor Poirier, that the minutes of the last regular meeting of the Kenora Police Services Board held November 30th, 2022 be confirmed as written and circulated. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Passed. Sorry, I don't think I called for a vote for the first one. For the approval of the agenda, so I will retroactively call for a vote for the approval of the agenda. All in favor? Passed. Okay, and I'm going to pause here and then I will let Chair Diaz take over at Business Arising from Minutes, the strategic plan next steps.
Hi. Sorry, everybody. Thank you so much. All right, so where are we? I apologize. Business arising?
Yes, number 6.
And is it just Dave on the line?
And Heather.
Okay. All right, so business arising of the minutes, so strategic plan next steps. So when Jeff and I had met with Heather, we had indicated that we were going to be approaching the consultant again just to sort of discuss sort of the next steps around the discussion of indicators for the plan. But I didn't see, Jeff, I didn't see your blurb in the copy again.
I didn't see it either, but I'm sure I sent it the same day I was asked for it.
Yeah, you did.
So
know
I
you-
don't know if it's just the consultant hasn't put it in yet, but it is there.
Okay. And I did check to make sure all the other changes were made as requested. I'm not sure if you had a chance to take a look at it again. But I know that Heather had indicated that that particular consultant had left that company, so I'm not sure who we would be approaching again. So, can I leave that with you? Perfect. So then from there, we would actually then discuss sort of what we're going to do around sort of the rollout of the plan that we had originally discussed. Was there any thoughts, discussions, items around that we had?
So as far, sorry if I may, around rollout?
Yeah, we had sort of chatted about it at the last meeting.
So I wasn't obviously a part of the original consultation process, but I think that there's benefit in some sort of like direct community engagement when it comes to bringing this out. I also had brought this up at council level, but I think this should also be presented maybe at the council table too, whether it's a deputation or however that should work. Because I was thinking about we sort of talked about our priorities, for this year thing, and I think it would be beneficial to have council as a whole have their voice when it comes to that.
So are you wanting to have that presentation to council before we have the discussion around sort of implementation and indicators, or do you want to start that now?
I think it can happen at the same time.
At the same time? Okay.
Depending on the timelines and what we're looking at. But my suggestion is just get a hold of Heather, just indicate that.
Okay.
And she can let you know at what meeting. I don't know what some of these agendas look like over the next couple of meetings. Like, they're pretty stacked, so it might be later on in April.
Okay,
or
yeah.
something.
And then I think, Jeff, you had indicated the OPP had just released their plan as well.
It's coming.
It's coming, or
Yeah.
Okay. So we also wanted to take that into consideration as we're planning that implementation and indicator.
Madam Chair, just another thing on rolling it out, just to make sure that we, like when you look at the plan, it indicates some of the stakeholders that were involved, like that, we had reached out to or the consultant had and was successful in gaining some of their perspectives. So I think we need to come up with a plan about how we're going to, are we going to physically send something to all those stakeholders and let's just make sure we do it right and then not go back and start sending it out here, there, and everywhere else. Let's just formalize the plan and make sure it's going in the directions that we want it to and to the people and organizations we want it to. So if we could conclude that would be great.
Absolutely. I think it's part of one of the areas was around that communication strategy, so I think that's really important. Dave, did you have any comments or questions?
No, not right now, no.
Okay, any further comments or questions? So if we can leave that with Heather to sort of reach out, and we can hopefully attempt to get this done over the next month or so. We'll see how that goes. Okay, perfect. So we'll move on to item number 7, which is the communication received by the board So there's a few items listed there around some of the clinical service hub information from the shelter that was sent in November. There was the OPP strategic consultations that occurred January 19th, and a few of us were on that call. And then there is the bail reform survey that was sent in January. Then we had the memo from the commissioner around the tragic events in Memphis that the detachment commander had sent to us, and then we also have the risk report that I had forwarded as well that Jim and I sit as co-chair on. So those were the items listed. I think there's a resolution. Was there any comments that you wanted to have first?
I have none.
Okay. We had a chance to review everything? Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I have resolution number 3. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Kelsey Van Bellingham, that the following correspondence be hereby received by the Kenora Police Service Board. S. Diaz, November 29, 2022, Clinical Service Hub Information. Lara Hartman, OPP, January 19, 2023, OPP Strategic Plan Consultations. Holly Doty, OEPSB, January 21st, 2023, Bail Reform Survey. Jay Duggan, OPP, January 20th, 2023, Commissioner's Memo to all members re the tragic events in Memphis. And S. Diaz, November 30th, 2023, Risk Report for 2020-2021.
Wonderful. So all in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you very much. So the next item is policies, and Heather did send Jeff and I a package of policies that we have. We have not forwarded that onto the board yet because part of our intention is we're going to be meeting together to set the agenda and review some of these policies before we bring it forward. So we have that information, and we'll be doing that over the next couple of months. Any questions? No? Okay. So we'll move on to the procedures, which is the annual election of the chair and vice chair. Are we at this again? I feel like we just had this.
Yeah, a year ago.
Once a year.
Is it already a year? So do we have,
So we will go ahead and do a call for nominations for the position of chair.
I'll nominate Sarah.
Oh, okay. And I'll second that.
Okay. So I will do a call once, call twice, call 3 times for any final nominations for the role of chair. Seeing none, so since there is one nomination, then we will go ahead and affirm the position. So Sarah Diaz will be the chair for the term of this year, and an election will be held in January of 2024.
thank you. You gotta do vice chair?
And yes, so vice chair, call for nominations for the vice chair position.
I nominate Mayor Poirier.
Did you hear that, Dave?
Or am I supposed to nominate someone else? We haven't talked about this before. I just know I don't want to do it.
So there is also one member that's not in attendance as well, but unfortunately that complicates it a little bit for the position. But if Mayor Poirier is open to the position of vice chair, then we can proceed.
I'll second.
Yeah, I'll accept.
Okay, so we will call once, twice, and 3 times for any further nominations for the position of vice chair. Seeing none, so Mayor Poirier will assume the position as vice chair for the term until January 2024.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. So we'll move on to item number 10, which is compliance, which we had nothing under here, correct, Jeff? Just looking at you. And then item number 11 was just around the risk report form. So actually this morning I did do an interview with CBC around the report. So I did include it in your package. I think this is just really important, just to highlight some of the areas. Now this report is a bit dated in the sense that we still have one more coming out within the next month. Just because with COVID there's just been some delays on pulling some of the data information. But you can see from the particular report, I'm just going to highlight a couple of things for you. Is that the table did see 39 cases. Some of them included family interventions as well. We are seeing a shift in some of the information. Originally when the table started in 2018, it was a really big focus on youth, 12 to 17. Now we're seeing that shift to 18 to 24 years of age. There's a variety of different reasons, and we're having those discussions at a steering committee level, just around, is it those youth that are transitioning into adult services? Are we looking at different gaps in services? What are we really dealing with? So we're having those discussions, and we're just formalizing some of the strategies that we'll be looking at to be able to support that. What's really of interest is if you actually look at the trend reports over year, and it's on page 22. This gives you a nice snapshot of what actually the community has been facing in the sense of acutely elevated situations. Mental health and cognitive functioning was the primary issue. That's now changed to substance abuse issues. And then the second followed by mental health and cognitive functioning. We're also seeing now a lack of engagement in education and employment that's coming up as a risk factor, as well as obviously criminal involvement that we're seeing. Housing was a priority, it's still a priority, but it's not sitting as the top 5 risk factors. So it'll be interesting to see once we pull this last data how that sort of reflects in the report. I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything yet.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, Madam Chair. I think the next report, aligning with the last 2 reports, will show us the actual curve of where we're going and what's happening transparent.
Was there any questions? Kelsey, did you have?
I think they'll sort of maybe be answered with the next,
Okay.
yeah.
And did you have any questions here for you? No? And Dave, do you have any questions about the report?
Is that me, sir? I'm sorry.
Yeah, did you have any questions?
Not, I do, but when I get back, I get it printed off. Found it very interesting. There were just some questions I had on some of the stats there, but nothing like I'll hold the meeting up. I'll just, once I get printed off, it's a little easier to sit down and go over a little closer.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we'll move on to item number 12, which was decisions. We have nothing there, followed by item number 13, which was human resource issues, followed by social issues interfacing with police services. So we'll move on to item number 15, which is other business. There was the bail reform survey that the OAPSB put out, and I believe we're doing that together, is that correct? Or we all filled out separately? I can't remember, there was 2 that sort of came through. Was it the bail reform that we had done separately?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody?
Mm-hmm. That sounds
I think
right.
it was, wasn't it?
It was a while ago, but that sounds right.
I'm not sure who filled it out. Kelsey, I know you probably did. I think you were.
Mm-hmm. And because the other one was the one that we did in person,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so I think it was the bail reform one. That
Okay.
was the...
Any questions about the survey? Comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing that I just wanted sort of to bring to the attention is it does feel very Southern Ontario focused. I don't know if there's any conversations around the bail reform that are, I don't know, and again, this is not my area of expertise, so as I ask questions, it's just from a lack of understanding, but I guess specifically around gun violence, is that one of our biggest issues here?
No, it's not, and we're having these same discussions locally, just because we're, so far removed from Southern Ontario that our bail reform looks different, but those are conversations we're having with local crown attorneys, judges, justice of the peace, just about how that looks here.
Okay.
So we are also having a Zone 1 meeting next week, and we'll bring that up as well, that there should likely be 2 surveys. What does it look like here? What does it look like there? But that's something we can raise when we get there.
Yeah, because I think it's something that we had sort of discussed was one of our risk factors as far as the bail process here, but just going through that, it didn't feel like it was really applicable to what we're maybe dealing with in our region.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to make sure that our voices are represented.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Sarah, you do have to, Sarah,
It's
you
Heather.
do have to fill this out together. So
Okay.
the survey question is, does your board support the request for bail reform? And then any comments to include. I've got it up on the screen here.
Well, thank you, Heather from Hawaii. Okay, so we will fill this out together. Okay. So, first question?
Yes,
Yes? And general comments, I think, Kelsey, you've made some already.
Yeah. And I can't say sorry for speaking out of turn, I can't say I can speak to what our specific needs would be in regards to.
I think
reform.
just putting in there that our needs are different than larger centers in Southern Ontario, and those discussions need to be had on a Northwestern or a Zone 1 level on what our bail reform should and look like. It would be very hard to put a policy down for Southern Ontario and for us because it won't be reflective of what we're dealing with.
Any other comments? No, Dave's saying no. Okay, perfect. We can click done. There you go. Thank you very much. So the next item was the OAPSB conference in Niagara Falls, May 30th to June 1st. So this is a conference that I've attended regularly, and so has Heather and Dave. And part of our discussions is that we want to ensure that new members and members that haven't attended also have the opportunity to go, because it is it's quite informative. And part of the change in the agenda actually came from attendance at one of these conferences. So, and there will be a lot more sort of changes as we move forward. And I have I've requested that the attachment commander also attend. He hasn't in the past been able to attend, but we would like to support that attendance because it'll be nice for you to hear the information. So we wanted to put it out there. Of course, as the chair, I can always make sure that I'm available to attend because it is important. But we'd like to ensure that those that haven't been in attendance. And I think, Heather, you said that there's a budget of 4 individuals to.
Yeah, I have enough in the budget for 4.
Okay. And are you attending, Heather, as well?
I don't think so. I have too many conferences back to back in that period of time.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to hear back on that because we may have something set up as council with another organization around the time, and they're supposed to confirm that.
Okay.
I mean, I'd love to go, and specifically as a result of some of the things that are going on now, and specifically, I'm assuming there'll be a lot of talk there, and probably sessions about the upcoming costing for, because if we're not heard in that, it's not going to reflect what we want. So we have to be on point with regards to that, and I'm hoping there'll be more information like in the next couple months with regards to that process, because it's vital for us to have something that makes sense for this. You know, you talk about Southern Ontario and Northern Ontario, and like, don't compare us to a city in Southwestern Ontario with 15,000 people, because it's not the same. And that's what I think they were looking at when they were looking at costs and such, and we're not the same. So I think it's important we have good representation there, and I'd like to go in that. I just can't commit yet.
Okay. Jennifer's not here, but I know she's quite interested as well.
Okay.
In attending, and I think from a housing perspective, that's probably we can reach out to her just to see as well, but I'm not sure, Kelsey, if you're.
So I would say for myself, if it doesn't work for Mayor Poirier, I can make myself available. But if it does work for your schedule, then I'm fine with taking a pass on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dave, I know you've had attended in the past, but we want to try to give opportunity to those that haven't attended. Is that
Yeah, I'll definitely be available. I'll definitely be available. I think it's really important, and especially something to transpire the last one, the continuation of them, and the just that we talked about the difference between the the priorities in the east and the south, and the priorities in the north, and having Jeff there is the detachment manager chief to be there all the time, and I think that's really important too.
Okay. So Jeff, are you able to commit to that, do you think, or?
I am, as long as the region supports it, and we're having an in-person meeting next week where we're gonna discuss that. Like,
Okay.
it's something that everybody kind of wants to go to, so they're gonna have to pick and choose, but I'm hopeful that being the largest municipality in the region, we'll be able to go.
Okay, perfect. So we'll definitely, Heather, we'll definitely take, obviously the 4, we'll figure out who the other 2 are. You can put myself down, and Jeff for now, and then
Okay.
we'll put out a call just to see if Jennifer, and then
And
we'll see where you are.
I mean, I have my own other, I have another budget I can tap, so.
Yeah, and mine would
maybe all of us.
be, mine would be covered
Jeff doesn't
too.
come under
Everybody.
our budget under
No, mine would be covered by the OPP, so that I wouldn't. be
Okay, so
towards that.
maybe it's everybody.
Yeah, but if need be, depending on the level of response to attend, I can divert money out of my own
Yours,
travel
okay.
budget if I had to.
So maybe we could just do a call out just for Jennifer, just to see if she can commit, and then we can make those decisions.
There is
Okay,
a,
thanks.
sorry, Heather, go ahead. No. There's a
I just said, okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. There is a resolution for that order if we want to proceed with the 2 or
We'll do the 4.
the 4 total.
So, resolution number 4, Madam Chair, moved by myself, seconded by Mayor Poirier, that OAPSB Spring Conference and AGM is being held May 30th to June 1st, 2023 in Niagara Falls, and further that the Kenora Police Services Board hereby authorizes for people to attend, for committee board members to attend the conference under the board's 2023 travel and conferences budget. Is that sufficient for the, okay.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried, thank you. So the next item is the OAPSB conference sponsorship. And so Heather, do we decide what we're doing, or you tell us what we're doing for sponsorship?
I've only put $100 in there because that's what we've done in the past. So if you want more, it'll just put our regular one.
Okay, do we have a resolution for $100?
Well, we do. I have to place the amount in, so do we want to vote on it as $100?
Yeah, right, you just, that's what we've done in the past. We're okay with that?
Yeah, okay, so, Madam Chair, I have resolution number 5, it's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Bellingham, that the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards 2023 Spring Conference and AGM has requested sponsorships to help minimize cost to members to attend the seminar, offset the expenses related to delivering the virtual event and training, purchase of virtual technologies, support the marketing and outreach required to inform and communicate with members, provide your organization recognition on our website, e-blasts, and at the virtual event, and deliver upgrades to our education and training to membership, and further, that there are 4 levels of member sponsorship opportunities between $100 and $5,000 plus, and further that the Kenora Police Service Board hereby authorizes sponsorship of the Spring Conference and AGM in the amount of $100.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried, thank you. So the next item is the 2023 meeting times. So Heather, did you just want to finalize sort of the schedule?
Kelly, I actually sent her notes on this. So we have a conflict with our internal management supervisory group. And she's got the dates that I've included that there's a conflict. And if there can be consideration to changing the time, the dates for those meetings, and if not, then I'll just miss those supervisory meetings. But I wanted to check if there was a way to change those dates.
Okay, it was in your package. Is that the seeds calendar information?
That's correct.
Yes. But there's only, out of that whole calendar, I think there's only 4. Kelly, can you read out the dates that are in the minutes?
So we have April 27th, May 25th, September 28th, and October 26th.
Okay, are we okay to look at changing those? Okay, there's nods in the room, Heather, so,
What was the
Okay.
date, bro?
April 27th,
27th?
correct.
That's going to conflict with your NOMA conference, which I will also be at.
Well, that's our regular scheduled meeting date, so
No,
I'm
no,
looking
no.
to change the date.
Okay.
okay, we'll definitely,
So I'll send out a survey monkey and try to get those dates changed.
Okay, wonderful. Any questions, comments? Okay. So the next item is the board governance bylaw resolution. So this was in your package because we have changed the agenda format. We have to change the board governance bylaws, so it is in your package. Hopefully you've had a chance to review that. Did you have any comments, Heather, about those changes? Because I know you're the one that had made them.
Yeah, only just note that when members are attending virtually, you don't count for quorum. So it's really important that we still have to have quorum in the room, which means 3 members. So virtual attendance is possible, it's just we can't move to having all the members. We have a very small membership, so it really needs to be coordinated. If a member knows in advance they're going to need to attend virtually.
Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think sort of further to our previous discussion that we should definitely look at moving that April 27th meeting, because myself and Mayor Poirier will also be at NOMA then, so then we wouldn't have quorum regardless.
Okay. Okay. Any comments about the virtual?
Sorry.
Okay,
Thank you,
yeah.
Madam Chair. Is there, I think that we've maybe sort of briefly spoke about this. Is there a way that you can, like, that these, because that was sort of what I was looking for when I was reading through these, that you can rewrite it so that you can have virtual quorum with these meetings, or no?
So Heather, do you have any comments there? Because I know you're awaiting changes on the act.
Yeah, we can. What happens is you can end up with 1 person in the room. And, you know, these meetings are supposed to be available to the public and all that, and virtual meetings isn't as, you know, not, you can hear but not hear as well, and you can see and not see as well the business of the board. So optimally, you have the people present in the room. If we just have to look at a different format if that's the intent, to have the majority of the members virtually all the time. It makes things a little more complicated just for our setup, the way we run our virtual meetings.
Thank you. As a follow-up, I don't think I'm suggesting the majority of the time that quorum be met through virtual, but giving the day and age that we live in, it gives, I think, a little bit more flexibility, especially because we are a smaller group, and with Member Canfield being away during the winter months too, I think is sort of more what I was looking at. I think we could look to always be here when we can be.
So having an option would be good.
I think so, but I'm just one voice.
Any comments? Or further comments? Is it something we can look at amending, Heather?
Yeah, I don't recommend it, but I'm gonna have to look at a whole nother way to meet virtually is the problem, but I'll try to find some sort of solution.
Okay, great. Do we want to vote on the change now then, or wait until?
I think we should defer it then if she's
Yeah.
gonna look into
Yeah.
it, so.
So we're gonna defer it, Heather.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments?
And are you
before we-
just deferring it by 1 month, sorry, till the
Yes.
next meeting?
Yes, please.
And what is the date of the next meeting?
That's a
March
great
30th.
question.
March 30th? Well, that's what we have scheduled.
Yeah. Okay. That's all the items under other business, so we'll move on to item number 16, which is the statistical reporting. So I'll turn it over to the detachment commander.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So just want to introduce members in the audience today. Sergeant Matt Price, Constable Jamie Wojtowicz. We are trying to bring members through just so they can kind of see the other side. They're the frontline side, and you know we're not always the frontline side, or rarely ever. So we just wanted to bring them through so they can see kind of what happens during these meetings. And everybody knows Jim, so in our next meeting we'll likely have our newly promoted staff sergeant at the Kenora Detachment, Grant Cowles. He takes Adam Illman's position and he starts Monday, so we'll try and get him out to the next meeting. As far as the report itself, I do have the report and then some year-over-year stats to go over, and just some clearance rates and stuff to talk about at the end. So again, the estimated policing cost for 2023, 6.3 million and change. Our calls for service for November, 1,226, and for December, 1,269. And it is a 2-month report, and the next one will also be 2 months, just so we can catch up, and then we'll get it back into the monthly reporting as we go. So as far as the violent crime rates, you'll see sexual assaults are up from last year from 8 to 11. 4 are still open, 6 cleared by charge, and 1 insufficient evidence to proceed. Our assaults are up by 2. Again, 30 of those 51 are cleared by charge, 3 by diversion, which just means restorative justice programs, 4 declined, and 3 insufficient evidence to proceed. You do see an abduction listed on here, and I know that once the media gets a hold of that, they'll ask questions about it, so I'll just speak to it now. That abduction was actually unfounded. It was a mental health issue where somebody thought somebody was abducted, but after investigation it was proved not to actually happen. So it does show up on the report, but it is an unfounded incident. No robberies, and when we go down to the property crime, we look at the break and enters, down slightly from last year, 2 cleared by charge, 5 insufficient evidence to proceed, and we are also working on a string of break and enters on Coney Island, which was highly publicized, making very good progress with that, just waiting on some reports to come back so we can finish that up. The theft overs that you see, 1 ATV, 3 vehicles, and an ice shack, which was recovered in Winnipeg, and charges were laid in Winnipeg. How somebody steals an ice shack, I'm not sure, but it happened. Violent crime clearance rates for November and December. Again, I'm going to speak to the year-over-year clearance rates, but for November and December, 70.1% for violent crime and 37.7% for property crime and 40% for drug crime. We talk about motor vehicle collisions. So these motor vehicle collisions are not just the city of Kenora, it also includes Highway 17 and anything outside of the municipality of Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls on 71. So 2 fatal motor vehicle collisions. One was on Highway 71 outside of Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls, and the other one was on the West Highway near Clearwater Bay. Unfortunately, one of them was a double fatality, so 2 people, and the other one was a single fatality. 12 personal injury and 101 property damage motor vehicle collisions for November and December. I'll just talk really quickly about our e-ticket data, which I printed, but it wasn't included in the package for some reason because I probably forgot to put it in. But just looking at the total charges for, again, not just the city, but those highways, not including Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls, 186 total charges and 111 total warnings for November and December. Take you to the daily activity reporting patrol hours. So this is November and December. We did commit to an increase in foot patrol hours, and you'll see in the report it's 373.6 2.25 hours, which is an increase over last year. School patrol hours 104 and 810 general or cruiser patrol hours. We did get some snowmobile patrol in December, and we're continuing to do that as the season moves on. Behavioral mental health screener compliance and numbers. Total wait time in the emergency room, not as good as the last report because it was under an hour, but this is 1 hour and 31 minutes, which is pretty average for what we're seeing. Again, 108 total occurrences with a behavioral mental health screener, and 107 of those completed. So you can see down in the police action, voluntary escort to hospital, 20 of the 109, involuntary, 12 of the 109, apprehensions under existing orders 2, referral to community agencies 14, and transfer to MCERT 58 out of 109, which is relatively significant and speaks to their caseload.
Sorry, can you tell me what the acronym MCERT is?
Mobile Crisis Response Team.
Thank you.
So 2 officers and 2 members of CMHA, social workers, nurses, whatever their background is. They're a team that works together, and they respond to, if they're working, most of our mental health calls for service as a alternative to frontline policing, and they have the skills and tools with the civilian member to deal with a lot of that stuff in-house, referral to agencies, 24-hour follow-up in the community, and really holding agencies accountable to do that follow-up so that we don't have repeated calls.
Thank you.
So can I just add, Jeff, just around the Safe Bed program, because I just want the board to be aware that we are reducing number of beds effective on Monday because of a critical nursing shortage that we're having within our organization. So we have 5 beds that are allocated to police for those diversions from the hospital. That will be reduced to 2 up until the end of May, until we can figure out some support around nursing in the community.
Which is going to have a huge impact, going from 5 to 2 beds. That's our alternative to the hospital. When the hospital says, no, we can't take this person, Safe Bed program is an option. So we're hoping to get that number back up to 5 beds by summer. So, because it will be virtually full all summer if we only have 2 beds.
We have 3 current residents now that will be transferred to another location, but I just want the board to be aware of that.
Madam Chair, do we have any plans as far as how we're working to fill, like I know us at this level, is there anything that you can speak to us to advocacy or anything that needs to be done in order to get that?
Absolutely. We need to be looking at recruitment and retention strategies just in general for Health Human Resources. I know it's not just community-based organizations, but we are at a down. We basically start, wage parity issues are the issue. Nurses are going to higher paid locations because community doesn't pay sufficient. So I think that's definitely a conversation that we need to ensure to have because we will be seeing the shutdown of community programs as the months go ahead. We are using agency nurses, but that's not going to be sustainable over a budget, base budget, non-base budget increases. We'll be able to do that for 6 months, and then we may have to shut down programs entirely for the remainder of the year.
So this is critical.
Yeah.
Which again has an effect on policing, because
Absolutely.
if these things close down, the default is EMS and police, which the city pays for both. So again, that advocacy work for recruitment and retention is going to be really important for us as well, so that we have those programs up and running.
May I ask that, has this board at this level done any sort of advocacy specific to, is that something that we can do at this board maybe, and maybe we should discuss?
Yeah,
as
which is
well,
why
like
we-
adding our voices?
Part of the change to the agenda is around those conversations that the detachment commander will have around sort of the partnerships that are being done in community, which is what one of the conversations I had with yourself, Elsie, just around understanding what is available to police services around, ensuring that there is those potential for diversions. So we're reducing the cost of emergency and we're reducing the cost of police interactions. So we definitely do need to look at that. Safe Bed opened 3 years ago in the community. And the rest of the province already had these programs in existence for over 15 years.
So, when this shortage occurs, or if it is now, how does that impact on that program, like that crisis response?
It's going to
Like, does that shut it right down? Or?
No, it will not shut it down. The workers will still be with the officers, but it won't allow for the option for stabilization. So if the hospital doesn't admit the individual and there requires that stabilization period, and the majority of the individuals that are admitted into the SafeBird program have high addiction related needs, and so if we don't have that stabilization process, we don't have a location to send those individuals, other than detox, which is not normally what this particular population needs.
Or the hospital accepting them to the,
Yeah.
4th floor, which is becoming increasingly hard to do with their numbers during the same staffing crisis. So this gives us an alternative. We won't have that alternative. So you'll see people, they'll be apprehended under the Mental Health Act. We'll take them to the hospital. The hospital will say they're not formable. And then they'll be back on the street because there'll be no other option.
I guess I would like to formalize some kind of conversation around how we at this level can maybe take some next steps, because I think this is really imperative to what we've been speaking about for the last few months around community safety, and this is going to have a huge impact based on where we already are. And I'm, again, being not totally clear about the proper format for any of that. I don't want to lose traction with this, as sometimes can happen when we are only meeting once a month.
And this is one of many programs. I've already started to have conversations with the detachment commander about the next program that will likely look at reduction of services, which is our assertive community treatment team that services 67 individuals with major mental health issues in our community.
Sorry.
So just to highlight,
Yeah.
we're highlighting it now.
Yeah, sorry, I know when we do, I'm sorry that it's just new and I'm trying to get my feet under me, but so don't take the questions as a, anything other than just me trying to understand. But I know with the conference program through council, we do like delegations. Is that anything with the OAPSB? I don't know if that's even the right place to be advocating necessarily,
I
but do they
think
do any
it's
kind of?
advocacy to the Ministry of Health
Yeah.
for wage parity.
Yeah.
Like, we need to start paying people to stay in these important jobs that affect the
Yes.
community, that affect the policing costs, because if we don't put the money there, the money's gonna go up for policing costs, because we're the only ones that can deal with it, and ambulance. And it's kind of like you're not stealing from Peter to pay Paul, but you're just, if you want to reduce costs in policing and EMS,
Yeah.
then the resources need to be there that we can defer to upstream.
Well, then thank you for that word. I think that's sort of imperative, is that it's more cost effective and usually effective if you're attacking at an upstream level versus then your EMS and your police services are your reactionary services. They're sort of there when you're in crisis, which is the most expensive and usually not the most effective place when someone's in crisis. And sorry, I'm just thinking about this. Is this something that we add on to council when we present for the strat plan, maybe some sort of a resolution that we can pass at the council table with the support of this board on the minister?
I'll just chime in. That's why it's important to, when we went to Roma, we told our story and we had FaceTime with the Solicitor General. That's what we needed to do, and we needed to have multiple FaceTimes with him, which we ended up doing, which is rare. But same with health and that, like when we're looking at conferences and that those are our delegations. It's one way to do it. It's not always the most effective way, but it's one way to do it. Or we think of it as so critical to this community that we look to have either a virtual meeting or something with the Ministry of Health whether it's the minister and staff, or if it's, you know, deputies or whatever it is. I mean, there's ways to do it, voice our opinion. How effective that is, you know, if we don't do it, we know what the answer is. If we try it, you know, and they keep hearing it, because that falls into the whole narrative of what we talked about last week on the phone. You know, the money's fine, you know, to reduce our policing costs, but if we're not fixing some of the underlying problems, then, you know, the numbers are gonna just keep gyrating. They're gonna bounce around, they're gonna go up and down, up and down. We need to have a trajectory going, you know, this way. And when these things happen, that, you know, it falls back on policing and, you know, EMS costs, which is ones that we're really trying to control and have there for the things that they should be doing. So, you know, that would be my preference, is we put together a briefing package that how it's impacting our community, because we know it will. I mean, you know what's going to happen, and Madam Chair, you know what's going to happen once those available beds in that program go down. So maybe we need to look at doing going from that direction, and you know, it's one avenue to look at, you know, and then we'll have to figure out other ways to do it also.
Perfect.
Just to the next report, we've had a lot of questions from the public and from the community on year-over-year stats. So this next report kind of speaks to our year-over-year stats. When you break down the assaults, the sexual assaults, the criminal harassment, the domestic, some are up, some are down. Overall, our total violent crime occurrences is even for 21 and 22. So although some are up, some are down, when you average those all out, there's a 0% change year to date. So of course in December, we field a lot of questions from the media. You know, we're having all these occurrences. Is it been that bad all year? Is it getting worse? We can definitively say that from 21 to 22, our year-to-date percent change has been 0 on that. Also, so our clearance rates for violent crime are sitting at 70% for 2022 and 75% for 2021. Again, that 70% will likely change as time goes on. I'd expect it to get to the 2021 clearance rate of 75%. That is over and above the OPP provincial average of 66%. So we're doing relatively well in those areas. So, you know, 70% of those violent crimes are getting solved. And the other 30%, there's either insufficient evidence to proceed or the victim declines to cooperate with the police, and we really have no other investigative options. When you flip to the next page, you look at the total property crime occurrences. Again, slight change from 21 to 22, it's up 10%. Some of our numbers are down, our B&Es are down 11%, our theft overs are down 4%. But where we see the increase and what really changes that number is the theft under occurrences, which were up 19%, and our mischiefs that are up 7%. And again, our clearance rates for those in Kenora, 31%. The OPP provincial average is 17%. And we can lay a lot of that on. We know who's committing the crimes. We have video to prove that, and we're actually laying those charges. So that's kind of what those two reports speak to. As far as other calls for service, and I think back to our conversation about mental health and addictions, and we can certainly provide these numbers for any briefing reports that go in. You've already heard about our mental health calls for service, but in addition to that, 37 attempted threat of suicides, 183 Liquor License Act occurrences just in those 2 months, and those are relatively the colder months for us. So again, that's 183 calls for service that we're going to for Liquor License Act related offenses.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Do you know the number for the year?
Yep, we can pull, I don't know it offhand, but those are numbers that we can get. Whatever numbers that we're looking for briefing notes to ministries, we can provide those numbers. 31 911 calls, 94 alarm calls, 99 ambulance assist calls in 2 months. So again, that is a billable occurrence to the city that we're going to 99 times in 2 months. 43 bail violations, 14 impaired driving calls for service, all cleared by charge, and 140 ride occurrences just in those 2 months. So those are some of the other high-flying numbers that really stuck out to me when I was looking at those occurrences for the 2 months. That is essentially the stats, other than our total time in the city of Kenora for all the officers working for those 2 months is 12,345 hours. So that's the total amount of time all the officers that work in the Kenora OPP spent policing the city of Kenora in those 2 months. I'll talk really quickly about our foot patrol downtown initiatives. Those are continuing, and they're going relatively well. Again, we can't be everywhere all the time, but we're hoping that Mayor, Council, PSP are hearing from the public that, you know, they are seeing us downtown more, we're interacting with the public more. What's helping with that and what's new is that we do have an office at the Community Justice Center. So in the back half of that Community Justice Center, we have an area where the officers can go and work out of. It makes it really convenient to go do foot patrols or bike patrols and things like that. We have 4 computers set up there. There is 2 holding cells, although we don't use them for arrests off the street. The 2 holding cells are just used when court is happening. And that court, the first court in there is in March. So we'll see that open up. We are doing releases to the Community Justice Center now. So all those individuals from 12 to 24 will be appearing at the Community Justice Center, and hopefully with all those supports in place. Just recently, sorry.
Thanks. That's nice to hear about the fact that you're linked to the Community Justice Center. I think that's a great fit. Is there any way we can communicate that? Because I get a lot of calls about, and I'm sure other councillors do, about the fact, and we've heard a lot of positive, I've heard a lot of positive comments about, and I've seen it for myself. So it's, you know, if someone says it's not happening, I've witnessed it with my own eyes walking downtown. I try and walk as much downtown, and I see officers, and again, you know, they can't be here, and everywhere else, but I always see someone walking or in close proximity. So we get people, you know, again, the whole idea was a little bit of sense of safety and security in that, and whatever form that comes in, that's a good thing. I know it's not solving all the problems that we have in our community, but it's one thing that I think we were able to implement with in partnership with your organization, to at least give that sense of security. And I understand things will continue to happen, and they will, and they always have in the community. It's not as this hasn't just happened overnight or in the last couple of years, and that we've had incidents downtown for years that I can recall and remember. So, you know, those are good things, positive things, and I even conveyed that to to the commissioner because he was part of a delegation we had with the Solicitor General, and you know, just so you know, because I'm assuming some municipalities don't have a close relationship or working relationship with their detachment, and I said we're not one of them. Like, we have a good one. There was other mayors in the part of the delegation that conveyed the same message and that, and I think he was glad to hear that. So anyways, a little off topic, but if we could communicate something at some point,
yep, absolutely.
however the OPP does that, I think it'd be a good thing.
Yeah, we'll get our media people to tweet it and share it on Facebook and do all that stuff that people do now.
It's not an open to the public kind of office. But
Yeah, it's summer for officers to work, but the linkage there has been 6 years in the making. I went to the first meeting where they had this concept idea of the wind government, so it's certainly something we can get out there for sure.
Great, thank you.
Having said that, I know that there was an occurrence just recently at the theater, and that was pretty well publicized, and I know the mayor got some calls, I got some calls on it. So we do have, and we've always had a working relationship with the Crown Attorney's Office, but it's been a little more formalized in the fact that if we're seeing releases that we don't agree with, or releases that we've said this shouldn't happen on the report itself, and people are still getting released, we're having those conversations with the Crown Attorney. Sometimes they're harder conversations to have than not, but they have recognized that there is an issue there with some of their bail vetting processes, and they've actually implemented a bail vetting crown, which we always had, and then they took away because we didn't have that many in custodies during COVID. So they reassigned that crown to something else, but they have reinstituted that program because they need it, and they need people to have a hard look at who they're releasing. So that is back in play, which will be really handy to have, and good for us. It's a contact that we can call to say this person's going to be appearing tomorrow. Here's our thoughts. You make your decision, but these are our thoughts on release. I'll just speak about the jail really quick, because I tried to arrange a quick tour of the jail, but with not everybody being here, that didn't happen. We are going to try and arrange that tour at some point. I had an opportunity to go through the jail last week. I had a really good conversation. We had a really good conversation with Kevin Holmquist, the superintendent there. There are so many good things that could be done there, but unfortunately our population is not, our jail population are not sentenced. They're on remand. And until some policies within government change, I'm not sure how many people are going to go through that new part of the jail and have access to all that programming. So that's something I'm going to work with him on. They do have an open media event today that we're going to go to and listen to what the public has to say, the media has to say, and see how we can kind of move that forward. But he's very open to having a tour there, and I think it'd be very beneficial for the police service board to hear how that affects us as a policing agency.
upstream approach.
Absolutely. So one other new thing I'll just touch on really quick, and it was in the media. We do now have in-car cameras, and that's important because that's a project that has been piloted in Southern Ontario. It's been rolled out to the OPP as a whole. We are getting the second phase of that is body-worn cameras, but the first phase itself is in-car cameras. With those in-car cameras, it also has a automatic license plate reader, or ALPR, built into it and built into the computer software that's on there. Really important for the public to know that, because as we're driving around, the license plate reader will read plates. It will tell us if your plates are expired. It will run the driver, tell us if you have warrants. So it's an investigative tool for us. All of that information has to be confirmed, but with the license plate stickers now being free and a lot of people forgetting, we're getting probably 200 to 300 hits a day on expired val tags. So check your val tags, and we're doing some education around that as well, because people get the notice in the mail, okay, I'm going to deal with this. They get told it's too early to deal with it. They put it on a clipboard, they stick it in a drawer, then they forget about it. And it's one of those things we just have to kind of keep on top of. So definitely some new technology for us, and we'll be taking advantage of that, and hopefully have the body worn cams at some point within the next 2 fiscals, I would imagine. And I think that's all I have.
Oops, are you losing your voice?
Any questions?
I am losing
further
my
questions?
voice, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a resolution.
We do. Resolution number 7, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Bellingham, that the Kenora Police Service Board hereby accepts the Kenora OPP monthly report for the month of November and December 2022.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carried. Thank you very much. So the next item is the next meeting date, which is March 30th at 9:30. So that's currently what we have in your schedules. So then we'll move to the adjournment. Do we have a resolution?
Yes, resolution number 8, Madam Chair, moved by myself, seconded by Mayor Poirier, that in accordance with subsection 35(4) of the Police Services Act, authorization is now given for the Police Services Board to adjourn to a closed session at 10:34 a.m. under section B, intimate financial or personal information, 3 items.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. So we don't have anybody here from the media, so we'll
So I've resolution number 9, that the board reconvenes to its open session at, because yours should have been, yeah,
10:56.
10, how about 10:57? With no reports from its closed session, and further that the regular Kenora Police Service Board meeting be hereby adjourned at 10:57 a.m.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
Makes it official.
Official. Thank you very much.
You never know, some